SpongeBob AirPants, the lost episode. Chapter 4. The next morning, SpongeBob stood inside his pineapple house after his morning bath, his head wrapped in a towel. He looked out of his porthole window at the beautiful jellyfish floating outside. So close and yet so far, SpongeBob sighed. I suppose I'll never join them in the sky, Gary, he said to his pet snail. I'll be stuck on the ground sentenced to a flightless life. He removed the towel around his waist to reveal a pair of tidy whities. Oh well, I guess all dreams aren't meant to come true. He pulled his clothes on in one motion. Back to reality. Meow, said Gary sympathetically. No, Gary, replied SpongeBob. My dreams are silly. He took off his head towel and began to blow dry his head. Just then his cell phone began to ring. SpongeBob tucked the still-blowing dryer into the waistband of his pants and answered the phone. Hello? No, this isn't the Birdman of Bikini Bottom. What? No, I certainly do not live in a bird cage. Irritated by the prank caller, SpongeBob did not notice that the dryer was causing his pants to fill with air. As Gary looked on, SpongeBob's trousers began to inflate to enormous size. As the clothing expanded, Gary ducked into his shell. SpongeBob began to rise off the ground. Ring! The telephone rang again. Who is this? SpongeBob asked the caller. Joe Mama? Well, listen up, Joe. I hate to break it to you, but flying is impossible. I have to go now. My head just hit the ceiling. Boing. Huh? Hey, look! Gary, I think I'm flying! He cried. Jellyfish Fields, here I come! The top of his pineapple house opened, and SpongeBob floated up, up, and away. He floated past Squidward's home and the Krusty Krab. Come down from there, SpongeBob, called Mr. Krabs. You can't flip me Krabby Patties from the sky! But SpongeBob continued to float away. Mom, look! Cried the boy fish in the funny cap. It's the flying guy! Wow, I guess he wasn't a lunatic after all, admitted the mom. Look at me! I'm flying! I'm flying! Shouted SpongeBob. SpongeBob's miraculous flight inspired his fellow sea creatures to burst into song. He's flying! He's flying! He's really, really flying! They harmonized. SpongeBob grinned and sang. I'd love to hang around to say I told you so, but it's off to Jellyfish Fields I go! Roads and streets are not for me! Suddenly, SpongeBob heard a singing cry for help. Help! Please help! My snail is up a tree! I've had her since I was a little girl, but now it looks like the end of her world! Sang Mrs. Puff, SpongeBob's boarding school teacher. The branch snapped and the little snail began to fall. No! Cried Mrs. Puff. SpongeBob swooped forward and caught the snail just in time. Gotcha! Said SpongeBob. Yeah, next time try the elevator. Thank you, Birdman! Cried Mrs. Puff. SpongeBob flew off gliding through the air with glee. He began to sing again. I have never felt so free. High in the sky is the place for me. Helping friends from up above. These are the things I love. I'll help Mr. Krabs reclaim his dime. SpongeBob continued, handing Mr. Krabs a 10-cent piece. I'm rich! Cried Mr. Krabs, clutching the coin in his claw. SpongeBob looked down. And I'll save Patrick from this mime. Patrick stood confused in front of a street performer who was trapped inside an invisible box. SpongeBob swooped down to rescue him. Thanks, buddy, said Patrick gratefully. SpongeBob pointed to a bunch of kelp moving back and forth. Even Plankton needs some help when he gets tangled in the kelp. SpongeBob grabbed the one-eye organism and plucked him from the kelp bed. Please put me down, Plankton said frostily. On TV that night, the Bikini Bottom news anchor stated, All of Bikini Bottom is abuzz over the identity of a mysterious flying man who helps people. He found my hairpiece, said a fish wearing a very shiny black wig. It was obviously not his natural color. A little boy fish appeared next. He helps people, and he flies, and he helps people, he babbled. Who knows what superhero act of courage he'll astound us with next, said the anchor. Stay tuned for Chapter 5 coming up soon.